Boelter. I'm Franz's daughter. And to begin, I just want to thank you all for being here tonight. I know it has been a little bit of a roller coaster as to what tonight was going to look like, so your presence here means a lot to me and to my family. I had to fly to Miami about 10 hours after I got the news that my dad had been terminated as a volleyball coach based on these allegations, and I felt so helpless being down there. When I created the Fight for Franz Facebook group, I never imagined what it would become. What I did know was that I was not going to just stand by while this happened, and that social media is the fastest way to spread the word these days. I also knew there were so many other people that either were or would be just as shocked as I was. And that it was a way for me to get everyone connected, myself included. And although Brett and I may have created Fight for Franz, all of you in this room and everyone who couldn't be here tonight made it into what it is, and your support has just been amazing. I played for my dad for 5 years, and even longer than that, if you include him coaching us through JOs from the time I was in 5th grade. And whenever people ask me how it was being coached by my dad, I tell them one thing: we battled, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Ask him who the only volleyball player was that he ever threw out of practice. And although I would have never admitted it when I was a stubborn teenager, I knew he was always trying to make me better. And I can stand here today and say that I would not be the person I am if it were not for him. He taught me how to work hard, how to deal with adversity, and how doing the right thing is more important than doing what is easiest or most convenient. I spent my life watching him live out the mission of the school. So when this happened, no one had to ask me to want to stand up for him. It wasn't even a question. I think the other difficult part about this for a lot of us is the lack of process that was followed. This is not the BA that I knew. This is not how it was when I was there, nor how it was when I was growing up. This is a school that I loved, a school I grew up in. I used to get off on the wrong bus stop on my way home from Sacred Heart so that I could hang out at BA and come to practices as a kid. I also used to check the calendar when I woke up for school and fake sick in grade school when I knew my mom would be at work so that the school would have to send me across the street to my dad's classroom at BA. Surely you would have thought someone would have caught on to my patterns, but I must have been a pretty convincing kid. My point being that I loved being in the school, around the students and athletes, and with my dad. As a kid, I looked up to his players, and they took me under their wings. BA was a family, a community, and most of all, a place of integrity, deeply rooted in Christian values. And it breaks my heart to look at BA and see it as a place that I don't recognize. But you didn't come here tonight to listen to me. We have a lot of wonderful people who will speak tonight with varying perspectives, so I'm going to hand it over to them. Let me just quickly ask that we follow some ground rules. We want tonight's meeting to be a safe, non-combative, positive forum for people to share their feelings about the decision made by the BA administration and board of directors to not renew Franz Boelter's coaching agreement. We plan to do this in a way that honors the values that my dad has always taught. Let's be respectful of all people. Now, before we get started, I just want to say thank you again for coming, and thank you for everyone who has shown their support.
All right, hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Hansen. I was a teacher, dean of students, and a coach at Bethlehem Academy from 2000 to 2016. And during that time, I got the opportunity to work with Franz Boelter. And here's what I learned about Mr. Boelter. He demanded that his student athletes do what is right, both on and off the court. He put his team before any individual player to help his team compete at the highest levels in the state of Minnesota. He has been a part of Bethlehem Academy for 34 years, which means he has given over half of his life to the Bethlehem Academy school and community. And it's nice to call you family. During those years, did everyone agree with everything? No. But he did everything out of truth or veritas for student athletes to become teammates on a team, to understand that Bethlehem Academy is much bigger than all of us. With all this here tonight and the situation at hand, it's not the Bethlehem Academy or the Franz Boelter that I remember. See, as a coach, you care, you're energized and excited all at the same time. You realize that everyone on the team has something to give. Some players have more than others, but everyone has something to give. But at the end of the day, your mind is clear, your heart is full, that you want to help make a difference in student athletes to become dependable young adults. Remember, you can't have everything you want, but you take your experiences to have an opportunity at everything the world has to offer. Franz Boelter has done this with Veritas, which is Latin for the truth, at the top of his list. I encourage the school and Franz Boelter to use Veritas to help bring us back together as the team Bethlehem Academy is today, tomorrow, and forever. Thank you.
Good evening. Most of you know who I am, but for those that don't, my name is Abby Samarta. I graduated with the BA class of 1999. My relationship with Franz is kind of interesting because not only did I get to play for him for 5 years at the varsity level, I also got to be a part of his coaching staff for 12 years. Back in the playing days, I absolutely loved volleyball, and at that time, BA was fortunate enough that myself and a solid core of players were very instrumental in forging the BA volleyball program as you know it is today. My teammates and I spent countless hours in the gym and worked our tail off, but we loved it. We had a dedicated coach in Franz who had a vision and who was on a mission to put BA volleyball on the Minnesota map. Parents, players, and fans bought into Franz's vision and trusted him. Everyone wanted to be a part of this successful program, and the excitement for volleyball kept growing. Now, looking back to see this dynasty that Franz has created would just make anybody say, wow. Now, fast forward to the late 90s when I was playing to the early 2000s. I get a call from Franz asking if I would coach the BA junior high program. I actually remember where I was sitting when he made that phone call. I thought, me? Why me? I gave it some thought and I said, sure, why not? Well, sure, why not turned into 3 years coaching 7th grade and 9 years coaching at the JV and assisting with Franz at the varsity level. I am forever grateful for Franz and taking a chance on me and believing in me as a coach. I was fortunate to learn from the very best, and I owe all of my coaching success to him. Without giving my age away, Franz has been a key icon in my life for over 23 years. I can honestly say, outside of family, he's been the most influential person in my life. And I owe him tenfold for the values and ethics that he has instilled in me over the years. He has believed in me, he has pushed me, he has encouraged me, and he has demanded that I become the very best version of myself. I applaud him for that, and I am grateful that he pushed me and molded me into who I am today. Franz is truly the icon of what a great coach is. First and foremost, he always cared for his players. Even though he demanded discipline, a great work ethic, a positive attitude, he always felt and cared for the overall well-being of every athlete he coached. He always saw the good in everyone and found ways for each individual to make a positive impact on the team. He knew how to utilize everyone's strengths for the common good of the team. He was a mastermind at crafting and molding close-knit teams as well. These girls loved playing volleyball together. They loved spending time together. The BA family was just one big happy family that did so much fun extra things outside of volleyball. When I think of Bethlehem Academy and BA volleyball, I think of Franz Boelter. There is no one that has spent more time and energy investing in students and athletes. He is a legend, and I am honored to stand up here before him and thank him for his many contributions. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Craig Anderson. I'm the athletic director of Pine Island, Minnesota, and I am on the board of directors of the Minnesota State High School League. I represent boys sports. And I had an opportunity to talk to Gordy Kosfeld the other day, and I see I had a quote in a recent article. And I want you to know that though boards are allowed to replace coaches, it's got to be done in the proper way. And based on the turnout here tonight, I would say that there are a lot of people who believe it was not done properly, and if it should have been done at all. I had a chance to talk to John Schumacher. He's the new executive director of the State Coaches Association. And there was some speculation in the article about, is there a difference between private schools and public schools? And based on talking to John, should be no difference. Our state high school league, we treat public schools and private schools exactly the same. Same set of rules, and we don't want to have any difference, whether it be public or private. As a coach at Pine Island for over 40 years, I coached baseball over there for 40 years. I also listen to the coaches show every Saturday, whenever possible. And one of my favorite times is the Faribault Coaches Show segment, and specifically Franz Boelter. Franz represents the best of coaching. The things that he shares about his teams is he builds them with a very challenging schedule, and they get better every week. And it's fun to listen to the growth as he talks about what he does with that team. It is a testimonial of the greatness of this man as he brings the best out of his athletes. And let me tell you, as a coach who's been in the business for many, many years, we appreciate everything that he's done and what he represents. I want to share some things that we have in our code of conduct for our Coaches Association, and I think Franz meets these to a T, and I think you will agree after I read them. As a professional educator and coach, I will strive to develop in each athlete the qualities of leadership, initiative, and good judgment. Respect the integrity and personality of each individual athlete. Encourage the highest standards of conduct and scholastic achievement. Seek to obviously I'm a 6th grade teacher, this word is way too big for me. So we may have to skip number 4. Fulfill responsibilities to provide health, services, and environment free of safety hazards. Exemplify the highest moral character, behavior, and leadership. Provide ethical relationship among coaches. Encourage a respect for all athletics and values. Abide by the rules of the game in letter and spirit. Respect the integrity and judgment of sport officials. Display modesty in victory and graciousness in defeat. And the last one, demonstrate a mastery of and continuing interest in coaching principles and techniques through professional improvement. Ladies and gentlemen, I've heard testimonies from many coaches around the state. They look forward to hearing people like Franz Boelter speak and have sought his advice and encouragement, and he represents the best of what we do in the coaching profession. So it is an honor for me to be here tonight and speak on behalf of him and the integrity of the job that he has done. I look forward to seeing what happens with the future judgment, I hope, in terms of what happens with his future coaching. As I stated to Franz when I called him last night, he deserves to retire as a coach when he's ready. Thank you.
My name is Walt Weaver. I'm a retired teacher and coach and a friend and a colleague of Franz. Since I first met him when he began coaching volleyball at Bethlehem Academy, almost 30 years ago, I think, and I'm also a volleyball coach. I really want to use my short time talking with you to review all the success that Franz has achieved and all the truly wonderful qualities he has brought to his teaching and coaching career for over 30 years. But I read the volume of heartfelt tributes and heartfelt support from parents and players and colleagues, and they were so moving and so authentic. I knew there was nothing more that I could say to add to that. And in my naivete, I assumed the school leadership would read them too and see the foolishness of their decision. And I thought their decision would certainly be overturned. But instead of overturning their decision, or instead of holding an open forum to reevaluate their decision, they instead decided to hide from the public. And thus we find ourselves here tonight, looking for answers to right what is clearly an absolute wrong. So there are 3 stated reasons for firing Franz from a calling he has had for over 30 years. Each of these 3 reasons is someone's opinion of his treatment of volleyball student athletes. We do not know whose opinions they are, nor do we know the specific complaints that led to them. We have seen no evidence in support of the accusations. But the school board has signed off on the decision, and the current principal, with about 1 year in school, has rationalized this decision by stating that he has to do what is best for kids. The implication being, of course, that Franz does not. But if Dr. Briscoe believes in this decision, he has no idea who Franz Boelter is or what he means to Bethlehem Academy High School or its volleyball program. In this dismissal, the first reason given accuses Franz of mistreating his players. Here's what I can tell you. I have coached against Franz often, over several decades, and in that time, I have never seen him mistreat anyone. I have watched him celebrate with players, I have watched him console players, and I have watched him at state tournaments walk to the stands and hang his own medal on a player who had played all year but had to be cut for the state playoffs. He has always shown total concern for his players' well-being, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And if you want specific examples of that, you can find them in spades in media tributes from past players, or you can talk to players here tonight. Franz and I have coached some all-star teams together, and I have watched him in action with kids. He is a natural, a born teacher, and coach, and the kind of coach I would want my daughter to play for. Yes, he is demanding, but as past players have pointed out, being demanding is not analogous to mistreatment. Every player I have ever talked to about Franz has told me he is a remarkable coach. I have never witnessed Franz mistreating players, and if he did, I do not think you would see the loyalty and the support you do from so many past players that have played for him, or for so many assistants who have coached with him, some for many, many years. Point 2 of this dismissal states that Franz shows a lack of concern for all players in his program. I wonder if this opinion might come from parents of players on this year's team that did not participate much in matches. This, of course, is every caring coach's dilemma. Most programs don't keep the number of players, Franz says, because this is what it can lead to. But he has always believed that being part of the team is an important opportunity for kids to have. What some parents do not accept is that being part of the team does not necessarily mean you see much more court time in competition. This is the nature of varsity sport, though, and every coach decides how to handle it. But if you are going to have success as a team, the bottom line is everyone cannot always play. My experience watching Franz over the years is that he wanted to include as many kids as possible on his team and in his program. And he always counseled them in the roles that they would likely play on the team. Without question, he is perhaps the most successful coach in the state in building a championship program while keeping lots of kids involved. Some would say he is to volleyball what Mike Brandt is to football, lots of kids involved. And if you need evidence to support his overall success with that philosophy, check out the comments of the bench players who wrote in support of him and who are here tonight. The final accusation is that Franz is not upholding the mission of the school, which includes the directive that all students be treated with dignity and respect. Accusing Franz of not fulfilling the school mission indicates a shocking ignorance of who this man is. Again, we have no idea what evidence supports this opinion, and as far as I know, those who have made that argument have offered none. I think I know Franz quite well, and I am sure this accusation was hard for him to hear and very hurtful. The truth is that Franz has always treated students and student athletes with dignity and respect. Through 3 decades of teaching and coaching at Bethlehem Academy. It is not in his DNA to do otherwise. This is a man who has built a reputation of excellence in 2 athletic programs over 3 decades. He is a man the school has hired to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for the school. He is a coach elected by his peers to a Hall of Fame. And he is a man who has devoted over 30 years to the school and its students. The idea that he does not treat students with dignity and respect is ludicrous and should not be believed. I wonder if those who made this decision have any idea of how difficult it is to build the kind of athletic programs that Franz has built at Bethlehem Academy. Ask yourself how many programs like this one exist in Minnesota. I will tell you, across all classes in volleyball, maybe about 5. Maybe. And when Franz leaves, do they think whoever will take this job will have the passion and the abilities and the knowledge and the magic of a man who has given his entire career to this school and to this program? Let's be clear. This is not a decision that will be best for kids. I would think a school that truly cared about kids would search for a way to hold on to a coach like Franz Boelter, instead of looking for ways to release him on the basis of questionable complaints and faulty argument. It just makes no sense. And so tonight I am sad and mad and certainly frustrated that an injustice of this magnitude might happen. And not only might it happen in what I want to believe is a just community, but also in a Christian school that is built on God's Word and the teaching of the Holy Bible. But it has not happened yet. So, let's find a way to stop it. To help the leaders of this school understand that their decision will not only hurt the volleyball program and its players, but will damage unfairly the reputation of both the school and a man who has devoted much of his life to his students. Simply, the decision is wrong-headed. And let's not rest till it's made right.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Fury. My husband and I sent 2 boys through Bethlehem Academy. They both graduated in the class of 2013. But I knew Franz long before they were in Bethlehem Academy. I had the opportunity to watch 3 nieces go through the volleyball program. So one of them actually played with Abby that you heard earlier. So I've watched Franz coach. I've heard conversations with him and parents and the players, and I can stand before you today and say that I have never heard anything that would live up to the allegations that he is facing today. Tonight I have a privilege to read 2 letters to you. The first one is from 7 college volleyball coaches, and the second one is from a niece of mine that is also a college volleyball coach. It is with great shock and sadness that we learned of Coach Boelter's non-renewal. Coach Boelter's career coaching record speaks for itself. There is simply no argument about his knowledge of the game, nor his ability to instruct and help his teams compete at the highest levels. More impressive than Coach Boelter's record is the positive impact he has had on the young women he has coached. They are thoughtful, disciplined, motivated, successful, and represent Bethlehem Academy, their team, and their families in the best manner possible. These qualities simply do not occur naturally. They are taught, nurtured, and practiced in the environment Coach Boelter has developed. While we do not know all of the facts and take the matter of emotional abuse very seriously, we do live in an era of transparency. In the course of recruiting, dozens of games have been observed in which Coach Boelter's bench demeanor was controlled, mature, and where athletes played freely and without anxiety. At the state tournament this year, it was clear that players, managers that could not be on the bench were invited down from the stands for the team picture after the conclusion of the match. It was also observed that Franz and the rest of his staff took their medals off and gave them to players and managers in street clothes. Athletes that we have coached from Franz's program have had strong core values and have affirmed that he has played a major role in who they are on and off the court. We have seen Franz at countless college games cheering for his former athletes with clear affection demonstrated between former players and himself. All of these years of public evidence directly contrast the allegations of emotional mistreatment of student athletes, lack of concern for all of the players that are part of the program, and failure as a coach to live up to the mission of the school in treating all students with dignity and respect. All of this evidence earns someone the right to answer allegations and be given the opportunity to restore any broken relationships. This certainly seems like it would very much be part of the mission of BA. While it is not our place to say who BA should have as their coach, this is what we have observed. Sincerely, Jane Becker, head volleyball coach, Augsburg University. Cindy Book, former head volleyball coach, St. Olaf College. Nicole Hess, head volleyball coach, College of St. Benedict. Gretchen Hunt, head volleyball coach, Bethel University. Tim Mosser, head volleyball coach, Concordia Moorhead College. Dan Pham, head volleyball coach, University of St. Thomas. Brady Starkey, head volleyball coach, Concordia University, St. Paul. The second letter. To say that the last 2 weeks have been difficult is an understatement. The announcement of Franz being dismissed as volleyball coach left me in shock. I cannot imagine volleyball at BA without Coach Boelter. I cannot imagine BA without Franz, period. I struggle with the allegations. I struggle not knowing the other side. As I wrote in an email, I am most bothered by how this decision was carried out. This is not the BA that I know and love. I pray for truth, I pray for peace, I pray for forgiveness. I have worked in this profession for 15 years. I wanted to do this job from an early age, and Franz certainly played a part in my ambition for coaching and teaching. I wish all athletes had the athletic experience that I had growing up. Franz pushed me to be my very best. I knew then, and I know now that no matter what, he will be there to support me. Whether it was his coaching during volleyball season, supporting us during basketball season, or coming to college games, I knew that he was and is a fan of mine. This is the Franz that I know. Coaching is a hard profession. You simply do not just leave your work at work. It really is a 24/7 world that we all live in. Conversations take place in the heat of the moment, situations come up, and decisions are made. Franz is a man of integrity. I know that he makes decisions based on what he believes is in the best interest of the team, the student athletes, and the school. I am so thankful for my high school experience. I am so grateful that I had the opportunity to play for Franz. I am honored to call him my friend. Respectfully, Nicole Hess, class of '98.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Grant Boelter. I am a former student and former player, and of course, Franz's son, too. Graduated class of '01 from Bethel Academy. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's voiced so many words of support, and thank you all for being here tonight. It's overwhelming, to say the least. But that's enough about me. I am going to share a letter written by Justin DeGroot, who is the head assistant coach at Gus Davis Adolphus for basketball, and he graduated BA in '03 and played under Franz. So here we go. This is what Justin had to say. It is with great honor that I write about Coach Boelter in reflective upon the many gifts he has given me. One of the most immediate thoughts is how he will always be called coach to me, and a term that I use with great pride. I remember moving to Faribault as a 5th grader and recall an immediate impact made on my life. Being in the same grade as his son Brett, who I remain friends with 20 years later, I was fortunate to spend more time around Coach than many others. I, like many others, recall the discipline and structure he instilled in my life. Whether it be in the classroom or on the hardwood, I was not only taught but held accountable to get the most out of my ability. It was Coach Boelter who showed me what was possible with hard work, passion, and respect. I was never the most talented athlete when I took the floor, field, or track, but what helped me garner some success was my ability to work both hard and smart. That was something I learned from Coach. The truly best part is that I haven't lost my sight of it thanks to him. When I was 16 years old, I told myself I wanted to be a high school basketball coach and English teacher. At that young of an age, I felt called to help and mold youth through 2 of my passions, literature and the round orange ball. The positive influence I felt from Coach as a young man is what has driven me to be where I am now as a grown man. I am truly blessed with the opportunity to coach basketball at the collegiate level because of what was manifested in me 17 years ago. To get to recruit some of the best students in the country, I also have a desire to play basketball at the NCAA level. The type of young man I recruit are the exact same type of person Coach has worked hard to develop both in the classroom and in the gym. It truly feels full circle in so many ways. When I look back at the whole picture, I can wholeheartedly say that Coach has been an instrumental part of who I've become. Who I have become is so much more than a college basketball coach. I speak more of who I am as a person, husband, and father. When I think back to what I'm most proud of during my time at BA, and specifically within basketball, I don't quickly recall the 2002 state tournament or wins, but so pridefully speak of the relationships I had with my teammates and coaches. We were incredibly unselfish, worked exceptionally hard, lived the mentality of self-sacrifice for team success, and we were dang good at them. These same traits are what I strive to be and live every day for my friends, family, and guys that I coach.
I don't even need the microphone out there. Okay, anyways, I'm Jacob Coleman. I played for Franz for 2 years and I graduated in the class of 2013. Growing up, I wanted to do 2 things. Go to BA and play for Coach Boelter. Ever since I was in his basketball camps when I was younger, I always wanted to be part of his teams because he was somebody that I looked up to and was drawn to because of his ability to get the most out of play. Jeez. I remember the first day I was on varsity, he came up and he told me, "Jake, I don't think you're going to play that much." At first, I was a bit upset, but in the end, I was happy with his honesty that I decided to keep playing. Being the voice of the bench is one of my favorite things because even though I was not playing, my voice could be a part of the game potentially impacted. Franz made it known to Taylor, Kaiser, and I that we were just as important as everyone else, often making a point during practice that we were the loudest and most talkative. Franz even created an award for Taylor and I because of our talking abilities and leadership during practice, but he didn't have to do that. He did that because he has one of the largest hearts out of any coach I've ever had. Yes, when we were out by 20 with a minute left, I shot a 3 and he gave me the Boelter stare. But never once did he make me feel uncomfortable or yell at me to the point I felt like he was harming the team. Even though I'm no longer a varsity basketball player, I will always be Team Boelter.
I'm Christine Kaiser. When I played for Mr. Boelter as Christine Meschke, and if you listen to the radio, I was going to hammer it like Meschke Construction. There we go. Class of 06, and I married a Franz Boelter basketball player, Matt Kaiser. So there we got that too. So Bethany asked me to speak tonight, and I'm going, okay, Bethany, how long am I supposed to fill my time? She says, well, maybe 3 minutes. And I couldn't help but think back to my speech class with Mr. Boelter. And the very first speech we had to give was supposed to be 3 minutes long, and it was supposed to be about our first job. And of course, we're all panicked because we've never given a speech before. How am I going to talk about my job for 3 minutes? And Mr. Boelter says, now, you can talk about anything for 3 minutes. And then he proceeded to talk about something random for 3 minutes, and there you have it. Well, of course, as I'm preparing for tonight, the issue is not how can I possibly talk for 3 minutes, but how can I sum up everything that I want to say about you, Mr. Boelter, in only 3 minutes. I find myself talking about BA and my BA family often to people that I just met, people that I've known forever, and whether they ask me about it or not, it's something that I'm always offering up. And the vast majority of those conversations ultimately lead back to me talking about my time as a member on the Franz Boelter volleyball team. Because to me, the values that he instilled in me, not just in the classroom but on the court, they were synonymous with my values that I took from the school as a whole. They were the same thing. We've already heard a lot of great stories tonight, and everybody has awesome things to say about Mr. Boelter, that's very clear. But darn it, I want to talk about a couple times that Mr. Boelter really ticked me off. Since I'm up here, I might as well. So, there was a time that I was giving a book report in class, and he asked a question about a quote from the book and that I had read, and I didn't have a great answer. And he had the audacity to call me out and suggest that maybe I hadn't really read that book. Truth. I may have skimmed that chapter, Mr. Boelter, and you were right. I was under-prepared, and thank you for holding me accountable, because I could be and should be better than that. Then there was a time that Mr. Boelter confronted me on the side of the court after I really had been performing poorly. My confidence was shaken and I was not doing my job. He got right in close and raised his eyebrow at me, and he gave me that look, and he's doing it right now. And it was a look that only a father figure could have provided at the time. And in his stern way, he told me to get my act together, play with the confidence that my team deserved from me. And I wanted to cry because I had been confronted. But the truth was that my self-doubt was keeping me from reaching my full potential, and that my attitude was hurting my team. I committed to finding my confidence that day, and I didn't look back. Thank you. Then there was that time that selfish voice in my head told me that I deserved to be playing a more important role on the volleyball court, and I was upset. And then Mr. Boelter asked me to look out for and support that player that was playing in my place, because she needed it, and she needed me to be there for her, to support her on and off the court. I didn't want to at first, but I did, because the truth was that she was the better player, and that was supposed to be her role. And my job was to encourage her to succeed, because if she succeeded, so did the team, and so did I. So I did. The other truth was that it wasn't always about the game, and it wasn't always about winning, because it really was bigger than that. And sometimes it was, dealing with a player who was having a death in the family or a very difficult time in their life, and maybe even something as severe illness. But it was in those times that Mr. Boelter gathered us together as a family, and we prayed. We prayed for healing. He asked us directly to support that individual so that they could overcome whatever adversity it was that they were facing. And I specifically played a role in significant cases because Mr. Boelter called on me to do that. I believe that Mr. Boelter is an inherently good person, and I think that it's very clear with what we're hearing today. The Mr. Boelter that I know cared for his players, not only as athletes, but as people, and he continues to this day. The Mr. Boelter that I know believes in the VA family, and I know that even in this situation, he's concerned for the welfare of that family. many people have asked me, what outcome do I want from this situation, and what do I want to come of it? And I think in the end, it's that I want to learn the truth, and I want to learn the whole truth. And I believe that our mission needs to be not only to learn the truth, even in this matter, let us address it like the BA family that I knew. Let us come together as that family and work together in a respectful, disciplined, and systematic way, just like I learned how to behave on a Franz Boelter basketball team. Volleyball team. We need to determine how we arrived at this crossroad. And maybe the truth is that feelings were hurt. And maybe that is a real feeling. But was that ever the intention? I can stand up here with confidence and say that I know that that was never the intention. So, you didn't give me the one finger that I was running out of time that I need to wrap it up, but I'm going to wrap it up now, so yep, there it is.
My name is Dr. Carrie Ace, and I'm not from Faribault, and I've only been at Bethlehem Academy for 3 years. My daughter is an 8th grade volleyball player, Jennifer Robert. She played on the C squad and loves and supports Franz. She has never been coached by him directly, only through the summer camps and JV practices. She loved his practices because she liked how much he pushed her, and she has dreamed of one day playing for him. My late husband, Chris Robert, and I used to bring her to the games when she was just 6 years old, and we told her if she worked hard, she could one day be on the team. My husband loved Franz's competitive spirit and how he pushed the girls. It was one of the big reasons we chose to enroll her here instead of Shattuck St. Mary's. It was also one of the reasons that I chose to have all of the memorial money for my husband's death be given to Bethlehem Academy. Franz, Sue Jandro, and the BA volleyball family saved me when my husband died. They nurtured my daughter and me through the hardest time of my life. She was only in 6th grade and truly felt like she was part of the BA volleyball team and family. And that is what he has been to all of us, the head of our BA volleyball family. It was easy for me to say yes to donating money to the Babs Night fundraiser when he asked me if I would consider donating money to the school. I would have continued to donate money to the school every year, and I even put them in my will. But this will stop immediately if Franz is not given fair due process. I cannot and will not support an institution that allows for an unfair firing of an individual without democratic process. All of us, every year, who have our children play sports at BA sign a consent stating that if we have a concern with our children's coach, we should follow the following 3 steps. Number 1, have your child speak alone with the coach about their concerns. Number 2, if you are not satisfied with what they have a meeting with you, your child, and the coach or athletic director. Number 3, if you are still unsatisfied, have a meeting with your child, the athletic director, and the principal with the coach. None of this parliamentary procedure was followed in the case of Franz and these girls. Not one complaint or meeting was set up by anyone. This is essentially the first strike against Franz, and honestly, no matter what the accusation, it should not be considered as a complaint because they did not follow the proper procedures. If they were facing such emotional abuse, why did they not quit during the season? Why wait and come forward after their senior season is over with their 3rd place medals clutched in their hands? It is because this is a well-orchestrated plan of a small number of power-hungry individuals with an agenda of their own. Several parents were heard to be openly talking at the state tournament of how they were going to get Franz fired this year, and yet we are supposed to believe this was not a deliberate, planned event. Unbelievable. I cannot begin to say how incredibly ridiculous we look to the public schools that are not allowed to do this type of coaching assassination without some oversight. I grew up playing Stewartville volleyball, and a small number of influential parents attempted to do the same thing that is being done here. The decision to fire Coach Zube was overturned as it should have been. Why was it overturned? Because they are a public school and cannot be allowed to do this without a public hearing. BA's head of the executive board knew all of this. He knew because we were a private school that there were no repercussions or ability for Mr. Boelter to address the accusations publicly. What do allegations such as this say to our daughters? That hard work and constructive criticism should only be expected of young men? What kind of young women are we hoping to raise? Are we raising women that cannot take hard work, cannot take disappointment? When they get to the workforce, they will not get treated differently than men, I guarantee it. Are we teaching our young women they are not as strong as men? Somehow it's okay for coaches to yell at young men and push them around the football fields to motivate them. But our girls are too soft for this? I'm sorry, but that's not what I want for my daughter. I want her to know she's going to be treated the same way as her male counterpart. That is what Franz was trying to do, to push them as a man pushes them. I think the non-executive members of the school board are in a tough place. I'm sure they're afraid of a lawsuit or something against the school. They should be equally afraid of the people pulling their monetary support from Bethlehem Academy. This will fracture the school in a way I do not think that they can imagine. I do have a proposed solution for all this. I'm not sure if Franz would agree to it, but it is a way for the board to save face and for us to have a democratic process for Franz. I propose a 1-year probationary coaching position. If there are any complaints made during this year, they can be investigated and he can be released if they were found to be significant. I also feel that there should be an oversight committee consisting of the sisters and non-current BA parents who would decide if his contract was renewed. This would be the perfect solution and I'm sure would appease all sides. I ask everyone to pray for peace during this time as we feel the urge to turn on our friends and neighbors or lash out in anger. This is not the BA that I knew, and this is not the Franz Boelter that I knew. I hope that we can come to some resolution so that Bethlehem Academy will not fall into financial ruin and will instead flourish and continue to educate our children.
Hi, my name is Jay Reavers, and I'm a former player and coach with Franz. And because I'm not very good on the fly, I'd like to read a letter that I wrote to the administration on Franz's behalf. And first of all, I'd like to say I'm honored and privileged to be able to speak on behalf of Franz tonight. When I first heard the news of the dismissal of Franz Boelter from the volleyball coaching position, I must admit I was shocked and truly disappointed. I'm not ready to talk to you about student-player entitlement, playing time, or any other parent complaints that seem to plague our society these days. What I'm going to tell you about is the person that has been a tremendous influence in my life. I first met Coach Boelter the summer after my 8th grade year in 1985. I was at an open gym and Mr. Boelter came in to introduce himself. We played horse, talked about basketball, and he expressed how excited he was to be a part of the BA family. He later became my English teacher and varsity basketball coach. After graduation, I went to school at St. John's University and was cut from the basketball team. It was based on his influence that I wanted to stay involved with the game of basketball. And at that moment, I began taking coaching classes in addition to my normal class load. When I told Franz that I had the opportunity for a coaching practicum, he opened up a spot for me on his coaching staff during my senior year. After graduating, he allowed me to satisfy my love of basketball by offering me a coaching position at the junior high level. After a couple of years, he then offered me the JV coaching position. I would continue to coach with Franz in that capacity for over the next 17 years. I feel based on that I've seen a lot of things from his coaching style to his interaction with players to be able to speak confidently on this. Franz Boelter was the first person to teach me the responsibility that goes with being a student and varsity player at BA. To respect others, your teammates, your teachers, and your family. To work hard, and that no matter how hard you work, sometimes life isn't or doesn't seem fair. He is a firm but fair coach that is honest and upfront with his students and players. In the classroom, he held the same, if not greater standards than on the court, especially athletes. Trust me, I tried to cut corners once, and he called me on it as he should have. I think I did that same book report. He was the first person to teach me the values of faith, family, school, and basketball, in that order. He was the first person to write me letters of recommendations for my first and second jobs. As a coach, he told me to always be there for me as a mentor, but gave me the freedom to do my own thing and find my own way and style. He taught me the value of preparation, organization, and the commitment needed to be successful. He taught me how to use basketball as a tool to prepare youth for life beyond high school. I witnessed firsthand how much he cared for all his players, managers, and coaching staff, regardless of what role they played. I saw him be there for countless students and athletes that were dealing with personal, emotional, and social challenges, and I would be glad to share those examples. When my father died unexpectedly, he was the first person to visit my family, to allow me to cry on his shoulder and tell me that he was praying for me and that everything would be okay. When I asked him for a reference for my current coaching position at rival Medford School, he obliged with no hesitation. Due to my present connection with Medford School, I lost some connection with BA that I once had. However, Franz continues to stay in touch with me and make sure that I still feel a part of the BA community. This includes various VA activities such as the alumni basketball tournament, BABS, and his relentless pursuit for me to participate in the bike ride. Still not going to happen. Trust me when I say this, I'm not alone. He has been there for hundreds of students, and these are not the actions of an individual that is exclusive or bears any resemblance to mental abuse. As you can see, I've been associated with Franz for over 33 years as a student, player, my mentor, and most importantly, my friend. Franz and his family are very special to me, and based on my experiences, I felt compelled to share with you why he deserves to be treated with more respect in this situation. I was in a human resources position at the company I currently work for a number of years. One of our company cornerstones is respect. When evaluating performance or handling an employee's performance or employment status, we are always taught to treat the situation with dignity and respect, whether that employee's been there for 1 year or 30 years. There should be no surprises when delivering performance feedback. Any concerns should be addressed prior to delivery. From what I understand, this did not occur, and it comes from an institution that preaches respect for everyone. I can honestly say that although he can be a strict disciplinarian and straight shooter, he is honest and truly has the best interests of the kids and BA in mind. I speak often about my fondness for BA, and people ask me why I feel that way. After all, it's just high school, right? My response is that it's hard to explain, and you almost have to experience it for yourself firsthand to understand. But in short, it is a combination of the faith-based education and special people that sacrifice themselves to work at BA. Franz Boelter is one of those many people that makes BA a special place. I am truly a better person. I'm blessed to have him be a part of my life. I am hoping that based on this response and the numerous other positive responses you received regarding Franz, that you and the executive board reconsider your decision to allow a coach and play that has poured his heart and soul into Bethlehem Academy for over 33 years to go in a respectful manner and on his own terms. He's earned that right and deserves better. Thank you.
Good evening. I can't help but think of quite the different circumstances this is compared to the last time we were in this position. I'll talk about that in a moment. My name is Mandy Bruder. I was originally Mandy's Waver, class of 2006. I am a state runner-up, and I'm a state champion. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the role that Franz has played in my life. I'll start out by saying my stats are less than wonderful. I think I've had 1 target pass and a kill, which was a roll that I somehow got over the block and landed. I have to say that volleyball was one of my favorite times ever. Like I said, I spent 0 time on the floor. I was aware when I signed up that that was my role on the team. And Franz made that aware as well. And really just said, this is your role. I took it on. I knew that I was there to emotionally support our team. And I did. There was times that starters would come off the court. I would talk to them, pat them on the butt, and just kind of calm them down, get them back in the game. And Franz and I both knew that, and I knew that that was my role. I did it well, and I was so happy to play on a team that the furthest bench person was just as important as the star volleyball player. I don't even think my husband knows this, but my mom does. When volleyball ended my senior year, I had such a great time that I actually slept in my jersey for 3 nights. I'm kind of it's kind of embarrassing, but I did. I had my experience with Franz as a coach was a wonderful one, and the team that I played with was great. With that being said, I think it's important that I knew my role then, knowing that maybe later in life or in a different role, I would shine. And I just have to say that him supporting me in that role, my parents supporting me in that role, it really did. It made me a more adaptable person. And in this day and age, I think that is a thing that we need to teach the generations to come. As a manager of a clinical facility, now I hire people and I look for those trying times and really interview them in a way that will say, you know, how will you do in a trying time? How will you do maybe in a time that you won't shine, or in a tough time that you're not sure what to do in? And I think really what people need is people like Franz. People that can lead them to find what their strengths and weaknesses are, and realize that you don't have just strengths, no matter how you cut it. Back to what I was saying about how this position that I'm in right here, looking at Franz right now, just back in July, I stood right about there, and Franz was right over here, and I gave a maid of honor speech to my sister who was getting married. And my point is I invited Franz to our wedding, and my sister invited Franz and Cindy as well to her wedding. And I asked why. You know, we're 23, 25, 30 years old, and when we're sitting down to write our guest list, and we're thinking of family, friends, influential people, and Franz and Cindy weren't far down my list by any means, personally. And I think that goes to show just the impact, the positive impact that they have, and that Franz has on our lives and the people that we've become. So I just want to say thank you, Franz, for molding me into the woman that I am and taking part in that. Knowing the strengths and the weaknesses that come with life, no matter how it goes. And I just want to say that I pray for peace, I pray for answers, I pray for Franz and Cindy and their family. And I just hope BA can stay as what I remember it. It was a great place. I had great friends. And I just want those memories to be for my children as well. I have children at the NCS. I really hope that they can go to BA and have the same experience that I did. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Jandro, and I am a class of 88 graduates from Bethlehem Academy. I have two students, Sam, who's a 10th grader at Bethlehem Academy, and Abby, who's in 8th grade. Based on the information provided, the decision that was made to terminate Franz from his volleyball coaching responsibilities is unfounded. This is not how we do things at Bethlehem Academy, not the Bethlehem Academy that I know and have been associated with in one way or another for most of my life. The absence of additional information leaves us only one option to form an opinion, and that is to look back on our experiences with Coach Boelter over the years. My history with Franz covers a span of 33 years. He was my high school English teacher and basketball coach. I was his assistant basketball coach for 2 years and have been involved in working with Franz over the years on numerous fundraising activities at VA. He also coached my daughter this past volleyball season as well. The information that has been shared thus far in no way mirrors what I have experienced in those 33 years. My experience with him in all these roles was always professional and appropriate. The allegations include emotional mistreatment, lack of concern for all players in the program, and failure as a coach to live up to the mission of the school in treating students with dignity and respect. These all go completely against everything that Coach Boelter has worked so hard on over the years in creating successful programs that are the envy of so many schools across the state. But more importantly, they in no way describe someone I look up to as a leader in the school, as a trusted coach of my daughter, and as a friend. Part of a coach's responsibility includes pushing student athletes beyond what they think they are capable of doing, which is what he excels at. Kids need to be pushed, kids need to be challenged. That is how they learn and grow. I've been to several parent-player meetings over the years, and the one thing that always sticks out to me is the point that Coach Boelter makes about everyone on the team having a role, and they are all important. The overwhelming majority of the kids have embraced and accepted the mantra and had great experiences being on the team. To learn over the course of coaching 2 sports for 34 years that this was never brought to his attention, that his coaching or communication was ever inappropriate or questionable, is further evidence that these allegations are unfounded. That should never happen to anyone, regardless of where they work. I urge the leaders of Bethlehem Academy to rethink this decision, conduct a formal investigation. A person's character and livelihood is being challenged here, and we owe that to Coach Boelter.
Good evening. My name is John Ogle. Excuse myself. I've flown from New York City over the last few days to be here with Franz, with my 7-year-old daughter Victoria, because she told me not to cry. and she's smart. I'm not going to read the excerpts that are the most scathing parts that I've written towards the administration and the board. I'm going to only say the things that are important and positive that I want to have everybody hear today. Addressed to the administration and the board of directors of Bethlehem Academy with a copy to the Sisters of the Cincinnati Dominican Congregation of the Most Holy Rosary, and read for the benefit of the Bethlehem Academy family. Dear administration, this is the first time that I'm addressing the Bethlehem Academy community directly since my valedictory speech in May 1992. Although I was home and spoke briefly at Joe and my induction into the Faribault Sports Hall of Fame within the past 6 years. I must admit that this is with great sadness that I write these words. This sadness is followed by prayers for a healing resolution for all involved, so that we can all get back to promoting the full sense of BA traditions that we have all come to know and love dearly. In the past, I have viewed BA as a fair, strong, and modern Catholic high school, a survivor in the 21st century, which is led by true Christian values. In my lifetime, and specifically after Sister Kathleen Dice retired, Coach Boelter has been the primary face of Bethlehem Academy's Christian tradition to the broader community. In my experience, Coach Boelter has exemplified all of BA's best teachings. Year over year, when I was a student athlete at BA, Coach Boelter worked tirelessly for us to be the best prepared students and teams, helping us elevate as a group of young people beyond our own imaginations. Coach Boelter always challenged us to be greater than ourselves in a fully respectful way. It was not easy. But Coach Boelter was always fair and honest with players. We were a family. That we, as a BA community, face this challenge is very common in our culture today, and something that needs to be faced as a community and addressed so that there is justice and healing for all. Coach Boelter was preparing us for life at every level and at every step. During my junior year, when I went to him to discuss whether I could play Division I basketball in college, he said, "I don't think so. But if anyone can prove me wrong, it will be you." From that moment, I could see from his actions that he believed I could do it. He challenged me from that point on harder than anyone besides myself ever could. He also told me that he would help me in every way possible. He said I needed to get stronger, and that I would need to devote my life and sacrifice things to get it done. He sat down with me every year, starting in 8th grade, to give me drills to become better than I was each year before. But his lessons were not just about basketball. They were about life. One of the most important lessons he taught in my life happened in my junior year, when one of my most influential teachers at BA, Sister Elizabeth McCullough, passed away. Franz drove a bunch of us who wanted to go to her funeral and made sure we were able to give our respects. He drove from the middle of the night to get to her funeral at the Mound, since we had a game the night before. Sister Elizabeth was the absolutely toughest teacher I had ever had at BA, and the most honest. She implored us to be champions for Christ. What coach does this during the middle of a season unless he cared more about us as people than players, thus allowing us to mourn the loss of our teacher and respect the Christian tradition of burying the dead? Without Franz at BA, there were many things I wouldn't personally have been able to do in my life. I would have not graduated for the Ivy League's Columbia University with a physics and math degree. I would have not played Division I basketball. I also know many students who would not have any of the experience in high school or later in life without his teaching and coaching. There are many reasons that Coach Boelter was inducted into the Minnesota State High School Coaching Hall of Fame. These reasons go well beyond wins and losses. Coach Boelter made us better than we thought we could have ever been as an individual. this has clearly become a challenge to the very heart and soul of BA, which is truly an institution that I admire, respect, and care about. The way this was handled gives me sincere pause and elicits questions as to whether the leadership at Bethlehem Academy is behaving with the same ethics and values that have driven the Catholic institution since 1865. I respectfully implore each of you to listen to Coach Boelter's concern about this process and other issues that need to be fixed going forward to make BA a better place. Long after you and we are all gone, how the school handles this crisis will be how the BA community will be known for generations, and potentially whether BA can survive at all. With all due respect, regardless of the board's future choices, I will never forget the great and positive things that Coach Boelter has done for my life and for the BA community as a whole. I pray that the administration and the board can see the light and find a path forward that allows for reconciliation, truth, and corrections related to certain divisions that they have already caused. In veritas, God bless, and you will have my continued prayers for healing. I appreciate your attention, and I know this has been longer than my 3 to 5 minutes. It's been a great honor and privilege to support Coach Boelter. I would not have the life I have, and I wouldn't be able to show my daughter how much this community is a great community without him. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Varley. I'll be speaking on behalf of my father, Joe Varley. He's not able to attend this evening, and please bear with me. I'm kind of juggling as I'm reading off my phone. My history with BA goes back generations. I had 6 great aunts that were Dominican sisters and served the order starting in 1868. I had an aunt and uncle that graduated from BA, along with my 4 brothers and myself. My 3 daughters also graduated from BA. My history of being involved in BA started when I would walk across the street starting in the 5th grade to take music lessons from Sister Marie Mercedes. After graduating from BA, I spent approximately 40 years serving on various committees, the board of directors, and as a trustee. That being said, the recent decision of the executive committee was received to me as if I had been served with divorce papers from the Bethlehem Academy community. This epidemic of parents wanting to control sport participation has been spreading like wildfire throughout the United States, not only in high schools, but also in colleges. Naive me, I thought that BA was immune to it. Naive me for thinking that we would not have vindictive parents. On the various committees I was privileged to serve on, we also had issues. However, we learned to handle them internally and not bring it to such a public forum. Parents or students could get on the board agenda and we would hear their grievance and act upon it. While serving all of those years, never once did I hear of any verbal abuse by a coach, not once. In order for the BA community to come back together, we have to heal and make these wrongs right. If standards have or must be changed, they need to be communicated at a higher level than on the bench seats in the auditorium or in the football field. Joe Browdy. I work with my father, and these last 2 weeks our office has turned into a Franz Boelter call center. And I need to hear him talk so highly of Franz. I mean, Franz, you should just feel great. I mean, it speaks volumes.
My name is Greg Sack. I'm the head volleyball coach at Southwest Christian High School in Chaska. Before I share with you the letter that I wrote to the Bethlehem Academy administration and board of directors, I just want to tell you a little bit about me. If you've ever seen me coach, you may want to take my pulse, because I try to coach with as little emotion as possible, because sometimes I think that's better to just to control your emotions. Anytime there's a situation, whether it's dealing with adversity or coaching or whatever the case may be, I really pride myself in looking at things neutrally from both sides, with as much truth as possible. And so as I contemplated sitting down and crafting a letter on Franz's behalf, I thought it was important for me to also look at things neutrally, just knowing that there was just a pouring in of support for Franz. So this is what I came up with as a neutral observer from a different school and somebody who has a passion for Christian education. Dr. Briscoe and the Bethlehem Academy Board of Directors. My name is Greg Sack, and I've been a teacher and head volleyball coach at Southwest Christian High School in Chaska for the past 14 years. Last weekend, I was told that steps were being made to dismiss Franz Boelter as the head volleyball coach at your school. I'm aware that there has been an outpouring of support for Franz, and I want to respect your time, so I'll try to stay away from repeating the same message that has been publicly communicated by many. Since I have been employed by a private faith-based school for nearly a decade and a half, both as a coach and an administrator, I feel like I have a general understanding of the priorities of institutions such as ours. Our families and communities are our customers, and we exist to serve them, as their tuition and donation dollars are what keeps our doors open. We need to do everything in our power to keep those customers happy, as the annual budget relies on it. However, I believe that sometimes the bottom line can cloud our abilities to view a situation through a neutral lens. As a former athletic director, I understand how hard it can be to support coaches that may have damaged their relationship with players and their respective families, sometimes through no fault of their own. Depending on the intensity or demands of a family, sometimes it can be easier to remove a coach from his or her position than to work towards a solution between all parties, or disappoint the family by supporting the embattled coach. On multiple occasions, I have experienced the dismissal of coaching friends and acquaintances due to lack of support from their administration regarding the family's claims that the coach is not running their respective athletic program properly. Also, on multiple occasions, I have had families in my office explaining to me how their child's coach has crossed the line. They won't stand for it anymore, and this coach needs to be either reprimanded or terminated. In each of those situations, I was actually embarrassed for the family, as they struggled to list concrete reasons to support their argument, as they knew that I would not acknowledge the lack of playing time as a legitimate concern. In both of the aforementioned scenarios, the issue always boiled down to one common denominator. It was the selfishness of the player and family regarding the player's perceived lack of opportunity. The mentality of entitlement is a growing concern among educators, especially those in private schools. I'm sure this topic has come up within the walls of Bethlehem Academy, as it is a common topic within the walls of Southwest Christian. Students, players, and families alike feel that because they are the paying customer, they get to decide how things operate. Because they are the paying customer, their students should be getting A's in every class. Because they are the paying customer, their players should get more playing time, more starts, more touches, and more rewards. Because they are the paying customer, the school needs to listen to them and change what they say needs to be changed. Nobody in their right mind would agree with any of these statements. But with the entitlement mindset that society has embraced, families have learned how to play the system and say what administrators want to hear so that the school gives the family what they want. When faced with pressures of this kind, this is especially when institutions need to buckle down and rely on the principles on which the school is founded. As parents and teachers, we long for our children to build resilience and shine in the face of adversity. This type of personal growth does not come from situations where things are always easy and perfect. We know this, but we continue to operate in such a way that trains our students and families that if they are not happy 100% of the time, someone must be doing their job improperly. Society has gotten to the point where people don't strive for self-improvement. They hope that someone will step in and change their situation for them. As educators, our daily challenge is to train students to become the next generation of strong leaders, not those that throw in the towel when things don't go their way. This requires us to stand firm in the high expectations that we have for our students and athletes, and indirectly their families. As any wavering in our stance debilitates the pursuit of excellence that we attempt to instill in our youth. Now, having directly competed against Franz for 12 years, it is indisputably evident that he has high expectations for the kids that he works with, and he has been successful at pushing them out of their comfort zones and in the direction of excellence. Before I ever coached against Franz and his teams, I knew that if we ever strived to hang a state championship banner in Southwest Christian, that the path would probably have to go through Bethlehem Academy. As a result, I did everything I could to model our volleyball program after the program at BA. I watched every BA volleyball match I could fit into my schedule, listened to Franz in every coaching clinic, and developed a personal relationship with him outside the gym. I believe I've had the opportunity to see Franz at both his best and his worst. We've coached against each other for a state championship, which was his best because they won. And we've both been on either side of remarkable comebacks against each other. I've even forgotten to start the clock in the final seconds of a close basketball game that he was coaching. That might be no worse. Franz has mentored me in times when I was struggling as a coach, and we have prayed together on several occasions. These allegations against Franz that have been publicly communicated simply don't match Franz's character. However, they strongly align with the entitlement mentality that has become so prevalent among families in athletics. When I stepped into an administrative role 13 years ago, I had one simple philosophy that I wanted to encompass everything that I did. It's do what is right. In order to ensure the success of my athletic program, I knew that I was occasionally going to have to support my coaching staff in stormy circumstances. I knew that I was going to have to make some decisions that would make some tuition-paying families unhappy. I also knew that even if people disagreed with my decisions, if I did what I knew in my heart was right, those that disagreed with me would be able to look back in 10 or 20 years and they would agree that the right thing actually took place, even if they didn't like it at the time. I know that everyone working closely with the situation knows in their hearts that dismissing Coach Boelter as the head volleyball coach at Bethlehem Academy is not the right thing to do. It's not right for Franz, it's not right for the school, and it's not right for the development of student athletes. I hope that as the president and board of directors, you can avoid the cowardice and poor judgment that has been exhibited by administrators at schools that have been presented with similar situations prior to this. Do what is right. Investigate the situation neutrally from all angles, find out the truth, and reinstate Franz Boelter as the head volleyball coach. The dignity and reputation of Bethlehem Academy depends on it.
My name is Mark Thompson from near Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I'm proud to say that I've known Franz Boelter for almost 40 years. Where is Franz? Way back there. During those 40 years, I've come to know that Franz has always wanted to be a Christian coach and follow the words of Jesus. As a Christian coach, Franz heard the words of Jesus, "Whatever you do for the least of your brothers and sisters, you do for me." All of you have heard of Michael Jordan, I'm sure, and Scottie Pippen, right? But I wonder how many of you have heard of John Paxson. You that are ardent basketball fans will know that name, but he was not an all-star, not a leading scorer, not a superstar. And yet he helped the Chicago Bulls win many, many championships. As a least player on those teams, he was able to make a huge difference at very important times. And Franz knew from the very beginning that yes, his best players would carry his team and score the most points, but the least able players were the ones he had to inspire. He knew that if the least able player becomes the hardest worker, the scrappiest, the one diving and digging and hustling, then the next less abled would be challenged to be better, and the next less able, and on until the starting 5 or 6 would feel the nudge of those less able and begin to work harder and harder. The least able players knew that their best moments may not come on the game court, but would come on the practice court as they challenged their teammates to be the best that they could be. The success of his teams relied just as much on the least able as on the most able players. Franz wanted to be a Christian coach and follow the words of Jesus when Jesus said, "Greater love has no man, has no person, than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." I remember a number of times when Franz received yet another request for an interview at a suburban Twin Cities high school. "Come and teach, come and coach at our school. We will give you much more money for teaching, more money for coaching, better gyms and locker rooms. And you can earn a ton of money by charging almost anything you want for basketball and volleyball camps." But Franz never left Bethlehem Academy. He just wanted to be a Christian coach and stay at the school that he loved. He was willing to sacrifice money and fame and glory for his friends and students and players. Franz just wanted to be a Christian coach and hear the words of Jesus, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." I'm 100% positive that 45 years ago, Franz was not sitting in his college dorm room saying to himself, "My goal in life is to be a Hall of Fame coach in basketball and volleyball, and win thousands of games, more games than all but a couple other Minnesota coaches, including that McDonald guy from up north." No, Franz was thinking, even then, that he wanted to be a Christian coach, and to hear one day from his God, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." I remember the days some 30 years ago when Franz showed me his teaching salary and coaching compensation for the coming year. I was ashamed as a BA parent whose daughter still thinks that Franz was her best teacher ever. I was ashamed that he was making so little money for all the good that he did. And so, Franz, I bought you lunch that day. Do you remember that, Franz? I bought you lunch. Do you remember that? We are here tonight because we remember that you have been a good and faithful servant. You've been a good and faithful servant to us, to our sons and daughters, and to the school you love so much. It is our hope and prayer that you will have at least one more opportunity to be a Christian coach, one more chance to be a Hall of Fame coach, one more chance to mold some Christian girls into Christian young women. God bless you, Franz, and God bless Bethlehem Academy. Oh, and BA, do the right thing. Do the right thing. BA, do the right thing. Let me hear an amen.
Amen. I'm in a lot of different directions, but I don't have anything down. But I'm Jack Kelly from Minden, Minnesota. And my heart is really heavy. I think this is more about BA than it is about Franz. Because Franz, he can go through this and he'll recover, because he always has. And BA, you don't want to split it up. All his kids, all the mothers that he provided by his volleyball team, and all the husbands that he provided by his basketball teams, doesn't come easy. Doesn't come easy at all. A little bit about Franz's high school. He pitched in a ball game in the regional final, and nobody got a hit. He pitched in the state tournament, and for people that are out there, baseball players, you know that the left-hander's got the leg, he can kick up and throw home, or he can kick up and throw to first base. Same thing works at third. And at a crucial time, he had to get picked off by 24 inches. And the umpire was an elderly umpire, was looking at home plate, where's the ball? And the coach said, get up. He didn't make the call. Most guys were going crazy on the mound, but not Franz. No, just accept it. We have a lot of conversations, not every week, but a lot of times in trying times. And he's had some trying times, you know, the past couple of years. Not with his athletes, not with his coaching, not with his fundraising, but the administration. So you really bring this down to where it really is the people that made that decision. And I think BA is strong enough to get that turned around. And, you know, one of the girls said something about saying a prayer. My wife passed away in October, about 3 years ago, it'll be 4 years this next October. And Franz, I called Franz, and he says, we're praying for Maryland every practice. You know, the girls don't know who Maryland is. I'm sure he explained that. But he's such a class guy. He's got a class. In 1970, we had a lot of class guys. They still get together. He's got some guys that he talks to almost every week. He came at a revival over in Wyndham, where a former preacher came to Wyndham to preach. Franz was on the stage and told everybody his life story about when he turned around and had a direction. And being a non-Catholic, and I'm Catholic, non-Catholic in a Catholic school is a real challenge. But he's just, no question about it, he's a religious person. And he deserves to walk away when he's ready to walk away, not when some board or some group of people that have no clue about how this is going to affect VA going down the road. Thank you.
I just want to thank you guys all for sharing. I know it means a lot to my family and to the whole VA community with all the support. It's awesome to see how many people came out for this. I'd share some stories, but when I was sitting there, I had about 8 billion stories run through my head, so to try and narrow it down is pretty hard. But the one that I kept telling everyone is the kind of guy my dad is I'm sure all of you guys know Mike Morrissey. When he was passing away, he didn't have a lot of family here, and my dad spent his last 2 days with him because he didn't have anyone else. And that shows the kind of guy my dad is, and I know for a fact that he would never do anything to intentionally hurt anyone or even hurt their feelings. So I just want to thank my dad for everything he's done for us as kids and for a VA family. And also it's kind of weird because I feel like I'm at an awards ceremony for basketball, and usually he's introducing us. But at this time, I'd like to invite my dad up to say a few words.
Thanks, Beth. I just about had to pull together and I look at you and now I'm asking these. So let's start with something kind of light. I really didn't want to talk tonight. But everybody said you have to talk. So anyway, we're going to do that, but I'm a little weary this week and this month. February 6th, I turned 66 years old. And it's been a little tough since then. A little tough. You know, this thing happened. I rear-ended a guy. I frayed my Achilles tendon. They put a boot on it. I went down with my mom and my wife to Tucson, and then I stumbled and I blew out the Achilles tendon. I got in the bed, I put ice on it, got a call from Tom and Sherry Langfeld, the people that were watching our house, and we had a leak dripping into the family room. This was like about 11 o'clock at night, and fortunately, through a number of circumstances with the help of their son Ben, we got it under control. So I'm a little nervous because it's still February. We have about a week left. This has been overwhelming, to say the least. And we want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here tonight and to show your support. First of all, I'm glad a couple of you mentioned that you think I'm an okay guy. That's meant a lot. That's meant a lot. It means, and all of you and so many others. That's why we've been here for 34 years. Another common thread that I've heard over and over is that so many of you here have a wonderful relationship with BA that now feels damaged, and you want your old school to feel the same way that it used to. You want your BA back. And I think that's what all of us want. Our family is so incredibly grateful for 34 years, almost 34, that you allowed me the honor of coaching, nurturing, and encouraging your kids, both male and female, to become more than they ever thought they could be. And not just as athletes or students, but also as great adults and neighbors who are always looking for ways to positively affect the people around them. Our family has been blessed by the thousands of relationships that we've been able to enjoy with students, parents, grandparents, alumni, and the many supporters of Bethlehem Academy. And for all the coaches in the room, both volleyball and basketball, that are here tonight from different parts of the state, the relationships have been equally awesome with you. How lucky I am to have such a great family at BA and a great coaching family for both volleyball and basketball. Thanks for welcoming us into those families. I really want to keep this short because I can't match what anybody who has come up here has done. I mean, it's humbling. I'm so grateful. Our family is so grateful. Our BA experience has been something unbelievably special. Just like a family is special. And that's what we've always called it, the BA family. And I think we all pray that our BA can emerge once again and make us proud. That's what we all want. And it can be done. This time, I'd like to just close us in prayer, if you could join me. Lord God, you've given us so much. You give us opportunities, you give us abilities, you give us relationships. And those relationships, our relationships that we want to build on our relationship with you, help us to do that. Help all of us to do that. Help us to support each other, to encourage each other, and to be the best that all of us can be, to find what we're capable of being through your strength and your encouragement. And we pray at this time that you would help us to begin the healing process from the things that we're going through right now, and just help us to do the things that we need to do to get this right. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for all these experiences and all these people, all your blessings. And I'm not a Catholic, but for all Catholic people here, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you again so much for coming. I know we said that if you had copies of a letter or anything that you wanted to submit, to bring them with you. So if anybody does have that, feel free to come leave them here at the front table. Thank you.